colleagues, what's up? Let me make sure that all my audio is good. Thank you for bearing with me. It is just your boy today, so I have to. This should sound better. So I got to do all the video, all the editing, all that stuff, and look at all these interesting stories that we have to talk about today, colleagues. First of all, I saw you got the Brandon the Denver colleagues. I think I just saw Brandon say it's almost 70 in Denver, bruh. I just had to crack the window. It is February. This is so weird. I mean, it's like we heard about global warming and we all know it's going to have terrible implications, but I think it was what 64. No, no, no. What was it? Christmas Eve, at least here in like the Denver area, because I was in Key West and I think the difference of degree was only like 3 degrees. It's weird, but it's kind of you don't want to say it, but it's nice to be right in the pocket of nice weather right before the apocalypse. And I started saying to myself, we'll just do Monday, Tuesdays, most likely 95% Wednesdays and then Thursdays. But Fridays are always horribly lit. It's like they do this thing. It was a famous thing in news that you put some unfortunate news out there Friday afternoon. I think they overturned Roe versus Wade over the weekend. They are doing stuff to kind of mitigate what would happen Monday, but in a 7 days a week, 24-hour a day news cycle, it really doesn't matter. So I feel like we have to do Fridays for days like today, and I think you guys know why. We will get to that. But in the meantime, colleagues, any good weekend plans coming up? I've told you guys, it looks like I'm going to hold it down here. Probably just going to be me and Vlad because my girl, Tori, everybody's going to be going over to friend of the show, my old podcast partner. And you guys know her from DBL's Clothed and Afraid segment. Corinne's having a Super Bowl party. And, I did that weird thing because I'd already invited Vlad to my crib. It's not as nice as Corinne's crib. Corinne has a nice little townhouse, got 4 floors. She's one of those people that genuinely, she's like, oh, don't look in this room. It's so messy. And you're like, every room in here is better than half. She's got a nice place. I love our place, but Corinne's got a great place. And so I just assumed like, oh, I'll just make sure it's cool if Vlad can roll. And she was like, oh, it's already like at capacity. And I forgot Corinne has friends other than myself. So, I'm not going to uninvite Vlad. Shout out to Spider Moving. And I'm probably just going to watch the game here. Just two men eating wings in silence, as football should be. So that's what we're doing. What are you guys doing for the game? Who's doing a big party? Who's doing it just solo? I think there's pluses and minuses to both. I think my only pushback, and I don't know if I ever told you guys this, when the Cavs won the title, Cavs 2016, you guys know this. Mark, it's a note in history. I was at my friend Ryan. We lived in LA at the time, but my boy Ryan, who was also from Cleveland, I was watching the game with him. He's a comic, and with him and his wife and a couple other like real basketball fans. And a friend of mine who's now really famous, she wasn't famous at the time, came over, and I don't know if she was just kind of like in her like talking mood because she's from a big city too, and they kind of have a rivalry. And it was not the time. Fourth quarter, game 7. I don't need to have somebody telling me that LeBron James is a B and that he sucks. We can do all that and go back and forth and have fun. It was not the time. And I just remember thinking, I do not want to be even hearing the blasphemy coming out of this person's mouth. LeBron James, best player of all time. But the Cavs went on to win that game. And then you guys all know, I politely removed myself, went to the guest bathroom, turned the faucet on, and cried like a baby because it meant so much. It means a lot, especially to people that are from those cities. For people like myself, I just love football, and I want to have that bittersweet moment of like, hell yeah, it's the Super Bowl. And also, holy shit, there's no more football for a whole bunch of weeks. So I'm going to be wrestling with both of those emotions, but we will get through it. Yes, Julia, the Olympics started today. Is it in Nagano? I'm not even going to look. I know one of y'all will tell me. And I will tell you this. Marcy, it's the Winter Olympics is just a tough one because, it's in Milan. So I was close, Sea Dog. Jesus Lord. Okay. With the Winter Olympics, there's no shade. Me and Tori did, obviously we were on DBL. There's a curling facility out here in Denver, if you can believe it. And we went out there, me and Tori. Curling was super fun, but I think it's one of those sports, a lot like almost when you watch the X Games. You can appreciate somebody going down one of those big pipes and coming up and doing 19 flips and landing. You're like, cool. I don't know what that is. I don't know how you judge it. I thought that one was great and that one was great. Why is that one better than this one? I think if you're not into the world of skiing and understanding what like a good landing, I can understand a race. And I can understand when they do the backflip, everybody knows you got to stick the landing. And we all go, you got to stick the landing. None of us could stick the effing landing. Do you understand what would happen if any of us tried to stick that landing and we would hear our one or both of our knees collapse? But yeah, at least in gymnastics, you can kind of tell, like if they mess up. I think it's a thing where I just want to know what I'm looking at. And with the Winter Olympics, I don't know. I'm just like, everybody did good. I turned into a second grade teacher. I was like, you guys were all good in my eyes. There's no losers today. But y'all, there is one loser. Can you guess who it is? I think we can. Let's get to it. I'm so tired of this man. Oh, I'm drinking out of the one of these real Stanley mugs, the ones that aren't cute. I think what happened was these got popular, and then they started giving them away at work. And when you're at a 5K, and they look the same, but they're not. The real ones are like expensive, and you're like, why? It's because the ice cubes will never melt if they're in here. It will never cool down if there's hot water in here. So it's like sometimes, even though I lost the lid for this, we're just gonna take it old school. And speaking of old school, guess who's bringing racism back? Our crazy ass president. That's right. Donald Trump. Well, I'll just let MSNBC do the heavy lifting on this one. So let's all pray that everything that I put in there uploaded. All right, let's take a look. Basically, he posted some effed up stuff. And this was a person that called. Then that C-SPAN show where people just call in and they're like unfiltered and they can just say whatever they want. Usually it's hilarious because those people tend to be a little bit detached from reality. But this caller, you can hear the pain in his voice. Trump has it is a big tent, and he's got a lot of people in there. He's got grifters, he's got religious zealots, he's got racists, he's got all kinds of people. But he also had the people that aren't as loud, but people that were kind of truly born and bred Republicans. Their parents were Republicans, their grandparents were Republicans, and they believed in that agenda. And this man voted for Trump 3 times. So I don't know how sorry I can feel for him. I don't feel sorry for him, but I will say that you can hear in his voice the regret, because what I thought about, because I had listened to this a bunch of times, is that it's not just politics. It's that our politics say something about us. So let's take a look at this.
I am a registered Republican. My dad was the president of American Pipeliners Association, so I came by it rather, naturally. Voted for the president, supported him, but I really want to apologize. I mean, I'm looking at this awful picture of the Obamas. What an embarrassment to our country. All this man does is tell lies. He is not worthy of the presidency. He takes bribes blatantly, and now he's being a racist blatantly. They were supposed to deport the dangerous criminals. They were not supposed to go after.
All right. I think we've seen enough of that. And well, first, let me hear from you guys. Like, do you feel sorry for this man? I don't know how sorry you can feel. You know, okay, can you see me now? Am I there? Okay. Yeah, okay. Chat is on top. Okay. There we go. Yeah, it's just like what he said there when he said, well, I thought they were going to deport the dangerous criminals, and that's why he voted for them again. I guess the issue is why didn't if you were so sure that this was the plan, you were so excited about this plan he had, why didn't you ask him how he was going to do it? Why didn't you ask him what mass deportations were going to look like? Because I sure had an idea. I think when people saw how grotesque and what a mass deportation looks like, if it was just criminals and they were going to be mass deported, were you just going to say, all right, criminals, that's enough, come on out, we're on to you, and they're just going to, you got us, and they're just going to line up on the street and walk back to their home country? Like, what was the plan? And I think my biggest issue, although I do always want to hold a little bit of space for people that are admitting that they made a mistake, is like, this dude probably, he's like, sounds like he's 60. Y'all couldn't tell that this guy was lying? I think that's more frightening to me. You know, we are a country that's basically founded on Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey and their old saying, there's a sucker born every minute. You turn on Netflix, every one of your cues is some kind of scam. And I'm not saying anybody that's fallen for a scam is a sucker. I have fallen for one. I'm just saying that this country is so awash in people trying to get your money, saying that they're a descendant of God, or saying they need your money because they help sick kids, or saying they need your money because they're going to deport illegal cartel members. I think with anything, and a weird microcosm of all this is I was at the grocery stores here in Denver called Safeways. I went to the Safeway yesterday, and when you pay with your card, before you can actually pay, they ask you, do you want to donate such and such money? And it's usually for muscular dystrophy or something like that. And I swear, I can't believe I didn't take a picture. It just said, do you want to donate to kids fighting illnesses? And I was like, that's pretty vague, bruh. Like, people, like, I would like to know which kids, what illnesses are they fighting? How do you plan to do that? I think that if we start asking better questions as a populace, we will have less and less callers like that man. But unfortunately, even though he's kind of throwing himself on the sword and saying, hey, I'm sorry, my bad, it's a little late. We're 1 year into a 3-year presidency, and I don't know if we're going to make it 4 years. Some people are looking at Trump. I looked at a clip of him yesterday. He did not look, no shade, I'm not wishing anything on anybody. He didn't look like the kind of guy that's going to make it 3 more years, but you never know. You never know. His family lives a long time. And here's the other thing that we have to think about. For as much as if he dies, we'll cross that Rubicon when we get there. But what if his team realizes that he is at a point where he can no longer communicate effectively at all, and they just kind of hide him away for 2 or 3 years, kind of what they did with Reagan his last couple of years? Who's really going to be the president? Not then. It's either going to be J.D. Vance or it's going to be a shadow Stephen Miller, which may be worse, which would definitely be worse. So, I really I really wonder how we're going to do it. And I don't know if that clip did not have the picture. So let me show the picture really quick. Let me run this MSNBC. I think I finally got it uploaded. Here we go. All right.
Some breaking news. There was a post on President Trump's Truth Social page that included a racist depiction of former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama. Well, that was late last night. Only now has it been taken down. MS Now's Akayla Gardner is at the White House for us. Do we know if this had anything to do with pressure, including from a lot of Republicans, Senator Tim Scott, Pete Ricketts? What do we know about this?
Chris, we're just learning from the White House that they're claiming that this post was erroneously made by the president and has since been taken down, but has been up on the president's Truth Social for about 12 hours. And this comes after the White House press secretary initially called the backlash to this post, quote, fake outrage, and referred back to an original post that was made by a pro-Trump user on X that shows President Trump as a lion with other Democrats depicted as other animals, and a racist image of the former and, of course, first black president of the United States, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. But there's been reaction from multiple Republicans on Capitol Hill, including an ally of the president, Tim Scott, who called for him to delete this post, as well as Mike Lawler, other Republicans also speaking out. So it seems that the president has responded to some of those calls.
Yeah, I was surprised by Tim Scott being surprised. But I thought about this all morning. And if you guys are still surprised and shocked and outraged, I think that that's a good thing. I think I was surprised and I was shocked when I saw it. I didn't drop my phone, but I was like, damn, it's jarring. And I think he didn't anticipate the reaction of his constituents and the people that have propped him up for years, lied for him, covered for him, voted for him, whipped votes for him. People forget racism is an ugly thing. There's a reason that even in the late 1800s, Klansmen wore hoods. To come out and declare yourself a racist is to really kind of separate yourself from society. And it's a weird connection I'm going to make here, but I hope you guys have been listening to me long enough. You guys can follow my train of thought. I was looking at a lot of the Epstein emails and the ones that are coming from Epstein to other people. He's asking for advice. And if you think about the advice he's asking for advice to launder his image. He no longer wanted to be seen as the sex predator that he was and that he died as. But even he wanted to be part of society again. And whether we want to admit it or not, when you go online, people are like, say whatever you want. That's tough talk on the internet. People don't say whatever they want when they're at work. They don't say whatever they want for the most part if they want to have something brought to them like food, or they don't say whatever they want when they want to, when they're courting somebody, dating someone, and they want them to think highly of them. Nobody says what they want, and nobody says the kinds of things that Trump says or posts because they are fundamentally gross. And there's a part of our humanity that even if we have some prejudice in us and we're aware of it or not aware of it, and I think everybody has some prejudice. Come on. We accumulate things from our surroundings, from the people that raise us. Some of us are able to process and work through it. Others of us, that just kind of a thing you have. I don't know. But we all know that no matter how you feel, there's certain things you don't say in mixed company. There's certain things you don't say when you're the effing president of the United States. And the standard that was in place for this office, where is it going to be after him? Because there will be an after him. And we'll attempt and probably rebuild our ties to Europe and the European Union and hopefully NATO, get more stability, especially for our allies, even democratic allies like the Ukraine, that I'm sure are looking at NATO and the United States which is supposed to be this defender of democracy, like, hey, bro, a little help over here. It's us versus Russia. We're giving up a little bit of weight, you know, in the weigh-in. So maybe you guys could help. From what I've read and heard, if we gave Ukraine the weapons they need, I mean, they've been holding their own for years. They will be able to successfully stave off Russia. But Trump isn't doing that. That's weird. We've talked about that before. But hopefully the next president will. I think the bigger question is, what will we think about ourselves going forward? What will you think about your fellow Americans? Will you guys be cool letting your uncle that maybe was this guy, a 3-time triple Trumper, is he still invited to the barbecue? I don't know. What if you, because you have to remember, when this is all over, it will end with a fizzle. It'll end with him just going away. Some people are calling for the 25th Amendment now, saying that he's crazy to have posted that. That's not going to happen. He's not going anywhere. But what's going to happen is eventually this will end. And I just wonder how accepting people's family members will be. And it's not just white folks. There's a lot. There were Latinas for Trump, Latinos for Trump, blacks for Trump. That was always the worst. Blacks for Trump. I guess they don't want any of that woke African Americans for Trump. So yeah. What was it? Diamond and Silk. Remember those two black? I was thinking about, these are the kinds of things I think about, like when I'm coming back from dropping Sarah for work. I would love to watch a documentary about all the people of color that kind of, you know, passed through the Trump universe. You know, the Herschel Walkers. Remember the owner of what was it? Blackjack Pizza, the guy that died at that Rose Garden thing. He got COVID back when there wasn't a cure yet. Yeah, there's just been a lot of people of color. And I wonder what those conversations are like, trying to ingratiate themselves back into the family, or are they done? Because at this point, there's probably people that haven't spoken to their dad in 7-8 years, haven't spoken to their brother in 7-8 years. I've read some of these articles about these ICE agents that we're about to get to, and it's their families that are not only outing them, but saying that once they joined ICE, they were basically, for all intents and purposes, dead to them because of the kind of person that they transformed into. All right. So with that said, let's move on, because I got something that will probably not shock you. All right. All right. I saw this clip and had to bring it to your attention because it's well known that, you know, since he's building his casinos, Trump stiffs everybody. And turns out it might even be his creepy ICE agents.
ICE agents are realizing that Trump may have screwed them on signing bonuses and health insurance. According to posts under an ICE agent subreddit, new agents have yet to receive the $50,000 promised to new recruits. Some are saying that it's being taxed so aggressively, it's nothing like what they thought they would get. Others haven't gotten anything at all. Other posts claim that they haven't even been paid at all 4 weeks into the job. Trump's DHS made a lot of promises to incentivize people to join ICE. There was the $50,000 signing bonus, student loan forgiveness, overtime pay, and other bonuses. Now it looks like the new ICE recruits aren't even getting standard employment benefits. One post claimed that they have been without health insurance for 2 months. They may have been misled, which isn't surprising knowing Trump. A closer look at the fine print of that promised $50,000 signing bonus shows that it's not actually what it looks like. It's $10,000 if they returned as a former employee, $10,000 if applications were submitted before August, and $10,000 annually for 3 years if they stay. None of this was how it was.
Yeah, and she went on to say none of this was how it was laid out. Yeah, no shit. Come on. This is Trump. Since there are stories about Trump in the 80s building his casinos. At that time, he used, and the irony is staggering, but at that time, he used a lot of undocumented workers from Poland, did not pay them. And when they demanded payment, he threatened to call, border control and have them removed from the country. This is who we are dealing with. Do you remember when Trump ran for the second time, his campaign in which he lost? Remember that he had to do a lot of his rallies outdoors in these weird kind of amphitheaters, because his first campaign, he went city to city, these different kind of larger enclosed venues, and he stiffed all of them. He didn't pay them. So his second go round, he had to be outside at the park with a permit. This is who he is. This is how he moves. He does not pay anybody. And I don't know why ICE thinks that they would be any different. If anything, you can see them setting up to leave ICE out there. You think they didn't redact the victims' names in the Epstein files, but they're about to redact your name, fellas? Don't forget, they were Stephen Miller after Alex Peretti was killed. Stephen Miller was like, we're not releasing the name of those heroes that we have on ICE, the guys that just killed this, domestic terrorist, Alex Peretti. And remember a couple of days later, he softened his stance and he was like, well, there may have been some, protocol that was mistaken by our officers and they may have been in the wrong. And I was like, well, what's this big flip that Stephen Miller has had? Because they got Jonathan Miller up out of here, Jonathan Ross up out of here. So I was like, and then I looked and they were two Hispanic ICE agents. Yeah, one was like Jose something. I don't have it in front of me, but they're two obvious Hispanic names. And he's like, oh, we can throw them under the bus. So once this is all over and trials start and the rats start to flee the ship, I'm very curious to see what is going to become of these ICE agents, these rogue, untrained, violent, and now unpaid, paramilitary. What's going to go on with them besides jail? Because that is coming, fellas. All right. Is that all I wanted to do with? And one other thing about ICE that I wanted to mention is that what they're using in Minneapolis was something that I heard about. I follow this woman. You should listen to her. This young woman. Her name is Whitney Webb. It's an Olympic sized deep dive. If you want to get into it, if you want to see like where this all started, she takes it back to the 50s and organized crime and like brings it all up to the present. But she, about a year ago, was talking about Peter Thiel and Palantir, his company, and how they helped boost JD Vance from a guy that was underperforming in an Ohio Senate race to vice president of the United States, to an ailing president. Like, where did he come from? Where did this guy that went to the military, for PR? He literally was in PR while he was in Afghanistan, and he had two kind of failed companies. And then all of a sudden he's a senator. He didn't work his way up. There was nothing. It's Peter Thiel placed him there. And, I was wondering like what Peter and Thiel's involvement would be in this regime moving forward. And it's starting to come out because Palantir is a company that is about mass surveillance. That's what Peter Thiel is trying to do. It's all about mass surveillance. And Palantir is one of the companies that makes facial recognition technology. That's right. And guess what ICE is using in the streets of Minneapolis? Facial recognition technology. And I'm sure it's not only being used against the people that they are accusing of being undocumented, if they would ever say that nice, but they're also using it against the people that are protesting. That's right. This has really cool applications as well. There are stadiums in which if your ticket is already paid, instead of waiting in a crazy line, some of the more high-tech stadiums, there are specialty lines where you can just walk through, dog. You just walk through. You don't have to talk to anybody, nothing, because it picks your face up. And it's like Al Jackson seat. Let's give myself a good seat. I have such low self-esteem. I was about to say seat 100, seat 1A. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I roll. But you don't have to stop and talk to anybody. That's kind of a cool thing. I'm sure they'd be at airports, but you have to understand, as we've learned with everything, as I learned listening to this podcast yesterday about how we should dumb down our homes meaning that all of our smart appliances are snitching. This might sound as boring as you could be, talking a little vacuum cleaner talk on a Friday, but they said that all of our Roombas and things like that, we're like, oh, it's so cool. I got a robot like the Jetsons. That the company that made Roombas were purchased by Amazon, I believe Jeff Bezos. So he now owns all the information that that robot contains. And what does that robot know? It knows the layout of your home. So why would that be important? Who will want that information? I don't know. Realtors? I don't know. Cities that may be undercharging you on the size of your property and now want an exact layout. Maybe your city's been charging you property taxes for 1,900 square feet and you're sitting on 23.5. So the city would be like, thanks for that correction. And now you owe us more money. To be able to tell what's going on inside your home, what your home looks like, and where you are, thanks to, guess what? TikTok. That's right. TikTok, that was sold to us by both Republicans and Democrats starting probably what, 2.5 years ago, because the Democrats were all up in this too. They were like, you gotta get rid of it. TikTok, it's just Chinese spyware. Probably, maybe. But now that it's in America, not only did anybody that still tried to use the platform find out that you have to sign a new page of user agreements. As of yesterday, I saw that you cannot type the word Epstein even into a DM. So if I'm going to DM Marcy and be like, did you see the latest Epstein drop? It'll just say user error. So it's not only a suppression mechanism to make it so that you can no longer communicate with people about, I would say, some pretty important news of the day. It also, and what you sign away when you re-agree to the user agreement, is that it is a highly powerful locator. They said that they can locate the person using it down to the exact floor on an apartment complex that they're in. Who would want that information? ICE? So ICE is using TikTok. ICE is using facial recognition, and it's all brought to us by Peter Thiel and Palantir, who also brought us JD Vance, served him up on a platter. Wasn't nobody talking about JD Vance? Remember back then, it's crazy to think, people were talking about Nancy Mace as a possible running candidate. JD Vance didn't have any juice. Say what you want. John McCain, not John McCain, who's the guy from Mike Pence, swung the election for Trump. He delivered the evangelicals on a platter. That silver-haired monopoly man came through for Trump because he got the evangelicals who now worship at his feet. But then we're like, hey, this guy seems super gross. And Mike Pence talked him into it. That's why you have a vice president. They're supposed to be strong where you're weak. JD Vance wasn't weak anywhere because he wasn't strong anywhere because no one knew who he was. And now all of a sudden he's a vice president, and you look and you see Peter Thiel is right behind that. And also, Peter Thiel, we look at like what's happening at the Washington Post. We look at what is happening with TikTok. We look at what happened with Twitter on a smaller scale, but nonetheless, because I think it was a test case, Peter Thiel was the driving force behind the extinction of the old website Gawker. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but Gawker was kind of like a little bit sleazier TMZ. It was like TMZ, just like it was like Temu TMZ. It just was a little bit lower class. They would out people sometimes. They would be the one to leak a sex tape. They were the ones that they did a lot of bad things. But what they also did was, they outed Peter Thiel as a gay man, and Peter Thiel as a very, very rich, very, very closeted gay man didn't like that. So what Peter Thiel did was he saw that Hulk Hogan had a lawsuit pending against Gawker. That it wasn't even pending. It kind of just started. It was about halfway through. And if you remember, Hulk Hogan had a sex tape taken without him knowing of him having sex with the DJ, the famous syndicated radio DJ Bubba Love Sponge's wife, and that sex tape was then distributed. Hulk Hogan was also saying racist stuff, which is a very weird thing to do after sex. Try a cigarette. And Hulk Hogan obviously didn't care for that, but Hulk Hogan was kind of a D-list celebrity at that time. He was going to sue them and probably walk with maybe 500,000. But what places like Gawker did was they had insurance that would pay if they got sued. What Peter Thiel did was he took the lawsuit that Hogan had pending off the table, and then they refiled suit and they went after the head of Gawker personally. And they showed that that was a way to intimidate media that you didn't like. It worked. It bankrupted it personally bankrupted the founder of Gawker. Gawker no longer exists, and all the other websites that were kind of, celebrity gossipy websites, or even just news and political, just looked at that website like, oh, could that be us? It could. And I think that was the initial domino that nobody noticed, because who cares about Gawker? But they're all just these little test cases. And we're also seeing these with the Trump administration trying to put these ICE detention facilities everywhere. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Oh my goodness, thank you. 20 bucks from Jennifer to start the weekend. Thank you. I appreciate you, girl. And I appreciate y'all hanging out on a Friday. Let's talk about this, and then we're gonna head into the weekend with some positive vibes. But yes, I don't know if you guys have been following what's been going on. The government has been trying to get states to take and start building these ICE detention centers. Right now, they have 25 states that they are trying to get to build these facilities. And so New Mexico is like, nah, dog, get up out of here. Places in the South are like, no. Do you know why? Because these states know that you can call them detention facilities all you want. These are concentration camps. They look like it. People are dying in there. There are some that already have talked about having rampant cases of the measles. Talk about getting them both ways. You get ICE from Trump and measles from RFK Jr. C-Dog, thank you. Hey, bro, I appreciate it. I will get it popping. I'm going to go get some wings. I will post them. Maybe we'll do a quick little what's up before the Super Bowl starts, see what you guys are feeling. If you guys have any pregame thoughts. And you guys, what's going? Am I dying? Or y'all are being so nice? Thank y'all. Come on, y'all. You guys are so nice. You're throwing me out. I'm trying to talk about the detention facilities, and y'all are being cool. Y'all trying to make a black man cry, because I'll do it. I'll do it. So I am encouraged by the fact that a lot of these states, even southern red states, are like, Mississippi was like, we want no parts of this, dog, because people understand what history is going to look like. And a lot of these governors and a lot of these states are fairly young men, early 60s, mid 60s. Do you know what it's going to look like when you have to look your granddaughter or grandkids in the face and say, like, yeah, oh yeah, that concentration camp where a bunch of essays and deaths took place, your grandfather greenlit that. So I think that we will have, I want to see where this is going to go in terms of how many people, because the ones that they want to build now are also much bigger. And by the way, they're calling them processing plants, which is really weird and something I want to get to. Right now, the average size one holds about 3,000 people. They want to start building these super facilities that hold 10,000 undocumented people. Now, we already saw a month ago that Bovino, remember that little sawed off, sad half Nazi that they had to finally let go? He had a quota from Stephen Miller, and they were just throwing citizens in there, people that were actively and correctly seeking asylum, because they were already out of people to detain and remove from the streets, because there's not that many hardened criminals on the streets anyway. People in cartels aren't at Home Depot looking for work. I don't know if y'all ever seen Narcos. Those guys are doing fine financially. So much so that they beat the government. They run it. So I would say that they don't also need a side gig. And they still had this quota, this mandate. So what they started doing was going to get women working at daycare, going to get old men out of their home in their underwear and humiliating them. And that there would be more of that. And I heard a really ominous saying about these detention facilities. It says, if you let them build it, they will fill it. So we all understand the gravity. And even these states, I'm glad they have the forethought to understand what will happen. Yes, low hanging fruit, Julia. Just the people. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess in that case, we're all low hanging fruit. They got people, coming from church. I've heard now, because people are not leaving their homes, that in certain communities, they're following white women with large amounts of groceries because they think that they might be taking them to undocumented families. Does that sound like what a cartel member would do? I'm really and also, Julia, how is bovino not a Spanish word for cow? Or bovino also sounds like a soap that has to be taken off the market because there's something really wrong in it, and it really is a class action lawsuit that you see at 1:30 in the afternoon when you're watching TV, and it's like, did you use bovino between the years 2018 and 2020? Well, call this number. Yeah, bovino is a very he's a sad man. He has a history of racist behavior, and that's why he showed up on this administration's radar. The last thing I want to say about ICE, because I'm not going to let them ruin our entire effing weekend, but it's just so interesting that they're building these huge holding facilities. But if you go back to what that caller was saying, it was like, why aren't we deporting the criminals? They don't have to be criminals. If you just want to follow the law, like a lot of people that really are just sickly enjoying watching this, they're just like, our immigration laws have to be followed. Well, then why isn't there a bus just taking people over the border? Why are they detaining people? Doesn't this remind you guys of something? Remember when prisons got privatized right around the time that they decided that there was a war on drugs, but not a war on cocaine, but a war on crack? Yeah. So crack, which is basically the hamburger helper of cocaine, it's just a way to make cocaine stretch. You got 3 or 4 or 5 times the sentence, and that's when we saw a generation or two of black men going to jail for 3 or 4 or 5 rocks of cocaine. So interesting. Nobody from Studio 54 went to jail. Do you think, this might be crazy, do you think like the vice cops in New York City might have known where there were people doing cocaine in, I don't know, 1981? Do you think? No. Maybe they were very elusive. I think that's what it was. Yes, but I bring that up to tell you that, like, they privatize prisons just like anything else, just like an Amazon warehouse. You got to stock it with inventory. Amazon's inventory is refrigerators and cameras and ring lights, and prison's inventory is brown bodies. You cannot go after black people in the same way that you could. That's why I feel like they're going after Somalians, because not only are they Muslim, but they are darker skinned, and it's kind of as close as they can get. They're always going to circle back to black folks. Don Lemon found that out. Georgia Ford and the other reporters found that out. But the pushback from the country would be too much. You saw just the pushback from this meme that you can't roll like you could even in the 80s. So you kind of have to do the next best thing. Somebody that doesn't have as many allies, except they didn't realize that until they rolled into Minneapolis, how many allies our brown brothers and sisters have. But they started going after Hispanics, people that are who they start killing in the Caribbean, brown fishermen. They just because they could. They said they went and took Maduro out of Venezuela. Not a great guy. We can go around Europe and find some not great guys. Belarus, what's his name? Medvedchenko there. He's a terrifying individual. Putin, not a great guy. He's still in place. So it's just interesting that they had to build these facilities, but find new brown bodies to put in them. And I think that we found them. And I think that's why there's not as much of a rush to get these people back to whatever country they came from. Because remember, I've had friends, family members that have been locked up. And what they've all told me is like, once you get in jail, you see products because you can buy things from the stores and they are owned by certain famous families. The Bush family had products that you could buy in the jail commissary. And guess what? Just like the airport, not a lot of, you can't do a lot of comparison shopping. It's either buy this or don't have this. So it's a way to trap your prey and then force them to buy your products for longer than they should be because you give them insane sentences for these drug offenses. So this country has a lot. Bye, Lucy. Did Lucy leave? Oh, yeah. Shout out, Lucy. Have a great weekend. Yeah, we're going to have to, and maybe this is something. Oh, how about this? Let me share some good news with you guys. And I got this today. I'm going to have her on the show. She's a good friend of mine named Lisa Correo. She's a comic. She's a middle school teacher. The DBL stands. The old school day one DBL watchers will remember this. But she came on my show because there was a young black man in her class, a gifted young guy named Jeremiah. And we had him on DBL. Do you guys remember this? And we surprised him with a free trip to space camp because he wanted to be an astronaut. I got this text from Lisa today. She texted me at 8 a.m. and she says, Jeremiah got into Embry-Riddle, which is it's a huge step towards his goal of working in space and aeronautics. And I said, that's so awesome. And she texted me in all caps, Al, I'm so happy. And I text her, in a world where everything is crumbling, you can't stop roses from growing up through the cracks in the concrete. It made me so happy. She said she was crying and she sent the text, and she said when she talked to Jeremiah, they were both crying. So when we talk about all these issues, just remember that these are the loud people, the quiet people that work for years to help a young black kid in their class that shows promise get into the school of their dreams when they're a young adult. Those people are out there too. And that's what I always told Sam and Tori and Erica, and weirdly myself. I'm a pessimist by nature. I'm a comic, but it just like the numbers wouldn't make sense if everybody was Bovino, if everybody was Don Trump Jr. There's a lot of good folks out here as well. So I wanted to shout them out as well. So yes, Julia, it was super awesome. Wait, now C-Dog says, when you're going to come west of the Rockies and do a comedy show? C-Dog, where are you? Are you in LA? Because I have some gigs. Oh, I just booked a gig. I'll be in Austin, Texas, April 10th and 11th at the Creek in the Cave Comedy Club. I'll have all my dates. Oh, Santa Cruz. You know what? My homeboy Hannibal, who I'm doing a show with in Florida in 2 weeks, I'll be at the Dania Beach Improv with Hannibal the 20th and 21st of this month. This is me throwing dates out so you guys know. Double check. I don't want to hear it. You guys know what's going on. But I think I'll be there with Hannibal. I'll be in Florida on the in Miami, my old stomping grounds, the 20th and 21st of this month. Next weekend, the weekend after the Super Bowl weekend, I'll be in Hartford, Connecticut with the homie, Master of Impressions, Mr. Frank Caliendo. I haven't seen Frank in a minute, so and haven't been out to Hartford in a long time. Last time I was in Hartford, something crazy happened. I don't know. I'm not okay. I just won't say the comic's name. Y'all want to leave? Let's end the week with story time. I wanted to show you guys some of these. Well, it'll be over by then. So let me just show you guys really quickly. Here's some of the foods at the Super Bowl, and I'll tell you all the crazy story and we'll get out of here. Okay, these are some of the foods that can be found at Levi Stadium this weekend for the Super Bowl. They're getting super fancy, and I wrote down what each one was. First of all, Holy S. I don't know if you guys can see that. That is it's a lamb shank with gravy pouring down the sides of it and a brioche bun. First of all, if you're eating that, how much of the Super Bowl are you going to see? Because that is a instant 911 dump situation. And we don't do a lot of toilet humor on it. That's not humor. That's just big facts. Let me see if I can find the definition they gave for that. Okay. This is called the hammer burger. It features a fall off the bone, braised bone-in beef shank, roasted, I'm not going to try and mirepoix, demi-glaze, and Point Reyes blue cheese fondue on a house-baked brioche bun. Yeah, I don't know if that is functional for the game. I think this is a case of people that make food thinking football fans will like that. They won't. They'll be they're going to miss the whole third quarter. All right, if y'all want to drink a little bit, how about that? Now those drinks look pretty good, except for the one in the middle. It looks like it's doing an Amadeus impression. Okay, let me see. This is the Golden Gate Mule pays homage to the iconic Golden Gate Bridge. Is that the one in the middle? This drink has Crown Royal whiskey, ginger beer, and lime juice mixed with passion fruit liqueur. I'm assuming, which one do y'all think that is? It says giving vibrant color. I don't know. The hell is that? I'm not okay. Okay, I'm just gonna post it. I don't even know what the hell this one's called. That looks kind of dope though. It's like these kind of food shapes of food. And let's get to this last one, and then I'll tell my story and we'll get out of here. All right, where is this one? Okay. All right. This is this is obviously for the people that have a sweet tooth. This is called a San Fran sticky roll. It's a cinnamon roll iced with white chocolate cream and topped with a spun sugar. Okay, I don't know. I think this is why people love chefs and also hate chefs. You know, I was watching The Bear with my girl, and I don't want to spoil season 5, but things are not going well with the restaurant. And I don't know. It's just like sometimes food comes off pretentious, and sometimes I just want to eat hot dog. Does that make me lame? Will that make me look lame on a first date because I don't want to have a demi-glaze with spun sugar, whatever the hell that is? That sounds like a fancy way to say sugar hay. All right, let's get to this. I'll tell this story really quickly. I was in Hartford years ago, probably, I don't know, 15 years ago at this point. And I was there with a really famous comic, and we were doing a 2-man show. This comic was known for doing very, 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 very long sets. There was a period of stand-up where guys like Dave Chappelle, Ralphie May, God rest his soul, they'd be in TMZ because they were doing these 6.5-hour, 7-hour sets. Literally, they would just be on stage for 7 hours. This guy would just do 2.5 hours regularly. His audiences loved it. So we're doing our last show, and this person had just got some traumatic news, and they went on stage and they began to drink, and they continued to drink, and they continued to talk, and they continued to talk, and they continued to drink. And we're at the 3-hour mark at this point for the late show. Don't forget, not only are they drinking, the audience is drinking. So the audience is getting rowdier and rowdier because these are just regular folks that are probably having their 6th drink because they haven't dropped checks yet. There's a table that gets drunk, gets really rowdy. And I remember noticing that they would be, this weird memory just flashed in my head. I remember noticing because I'm like, I got to close the show because we're doing a 2-man show. So all I have to do is, I'm a young comic. It's just like after he's done, I have to just get on stage. Hey, thanks for coming out to y'all. Good night. And then I can go about my life. But I am trapped with this audience. I'm just waiting on the side for this dude to close. He's going for hours. So I'm near the service bar. That's the bar that's not fancy that you would sit out with your girl. It's the bar where they're just getting drinks out to the people sitting. And there have been a couple drinks sent back. So there was like a whiskey and Coke and like a vodka cran. And there was a double date. There was a four top that had a two guys, two girls. So this black woman walks in the back and she goes, "I'm looking for our waiter." And I'm like, "I can't help you." And she goes, "Where are our drinks?" And she goes, "F it." And she grabbed the Crown and whiskey and the vodka cran, dumped the vodka cran in the whiskey and drank it. I was like, "Oh, but I'm like, what am I gonna do?" So she goes back to that table. That table gets super, super loud to the point where the manager goes over a couple times, tells them to be quiet. And they're like, when you're drunk, that drunk, they were all blacked out. You don't realize how loud you are. So you just think the white female manager's messing with y'all. And so they're kind of saying stuff back. And she's like, "I'm just trying to, y'all are really loud." So the comic on stage sees this going down because at this point, the manager is called over security. And I don't know if there was like a real police officer mixed in with the security, but this guy sees this going on and he takes the mic and he's yelling from the stage, "You don't mess with black people at my show, then arrest me too." He jumps off stage and is going up to the cops like, "Arrest me too, arrest me too." And the audience sees this. The audience, if you're 7 drinks deep at your table and the comic is off stage having it out with the police, this might be a time that you might want to leave and maybe forget to pay. So a bunch of people darted under the guise of like, "Oh, I thought there was going to be a riot, so I left." And it was a whole thing. And the next night, Saturday, shows are, as far as I remember, were like 7 and 9:30, and the 7 o'clock show came, and this person did not show up, and I ended up headlining the rest of the weekend. It was a crazy weekend, but it was a memory that I will never forget. I love stand up because it's a live show, and you don't know what is going on from show to show, and I love it. So with that said, colleagues, I absolutely love y'all. I may pop on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. Hopefully Vlad will be here with me. We'll give y'all shout outs and we'll give y'all last predictions. So if I'm going to do that, I'll put the stream up like an hour so y'all can jump on. All right. Yes. Emlo, drink and dash. Imagine like those are comedy club prices. So if you're on a date and like y'all have each had 6 drinks, y'all probably teetering around 260 and some food and some wings. And she got some nachos and a little finger food. Yeah, it could have been a $300 bill, and you're just like, "I'm scared. Let's go." So yeah, it was a lot of drama in the LBC. Hey, C-Dog, I love you. Thank you for the kindness. I will get my weekend popping starting right now, but I couldn't do it without saying what's up to y'all. Forget this political stuff for a second. Y'all go be human beings. Go out there and thrive. On behalf of Michael Dean and Tori, I've been Al Jackson. See y'all Monday.